Next, we will have another four speakers, but this time from South Carroll High School. Jalissa Mahano will perform Fruit of the Flower by County Colon to kick things off for South Carroll High School.
My father is a quiet man with somber, steady ways. For a simile, a folded fan. His nights are like his days. My mother's life is Puritan. No hint of cavalier. No, a pool so cool you're sure it can have little depth to fear. And yet my father's eyes can boost how full his life has been. Their hands that, yet the languid ghost of still some sacred sin. And though my mother chants of God and of the mystic river, I've been said of checkered sod, set all her flesh a quiver. Why should he deem it pure mischance? A son of his is fain to do a naked tribal dance each time he hears the rain. Why should she think it's devil's art? That all my songs should be of love and lover's broken heart and wild sweet agony. Who plants a seed begets a bud, extracted the same root, why marvel at the hectic blood that flushes this wild fruit?
Our second speaker from South Carroll High School will be Elizabeth Larson, and she will be performing My Slave Experience in Maryland by Frederick Douglass.
I ran away from the South 7 years ago, passing through this city in no little hurry, I assure you, and lived about 3 years in New Bedford, Massachusetts, before I became publicly known to the anti-slavery people. Since then, I have been engaged for 3 years in telling the people what I know of it. I have come to this meeting to throw in my mite, and since no fugitive slave has preceded me, I am encouraged to say a word about the sunny South. I thought, when the eloquent female who addressed this audience a while ago was speaking of the horrors of slavery, that many an honest man would doubt the truth of the picture which she drew, and I can unite with the gentleman from Kentucky in saying that she came far short of describing them. I can tell you what I have seen with my own eyes, felt on my own person, and know to have occurred in my own neighborhoods. I am not from any of those states where the slaves are said to be in their most degraded condition, but from Maryland, where slavery is said to exist in its mildest form. Yet I can stand here and relate atrocities which would make your blood to boil at the statement of them. There we go, okay. Now, my friends, pardon me, but let me tell you with regards to the feelings of the slave. The people of the North said, "Why don't you rise up? If we were thus treated, we would rise and throw off the yoke. We would wade knee-deep in blood before we would endure the bondage." You'd rise. Who are these who are asking for manhood in the slave and who say that he has it not because he does not rise up? The very men who are ready by the Constitution to bring the strength of the nation to put us down. You, the people of New York, the people of Massachusetts, of New England, of the whole northern states, have sworn under God that we shall be slaves or die. And shall we 3 millions be taunted with a want of the love of freedom by the very men who stand upon us and say, submit or be crushed? We don't ask you to engage in any physical warfare against the slaveholder. We only ask that in Massachusetts and the several non-slave holding states which maintain a union with the slaveholder who stand with your heavy heels on the quivering heartstrings of the slave, that you will stand off. Leave us to take care of our masters, but here you come up to your masters and tell them that they ought to shoot us, to take away our wives and little ones, to sell our mothers into interminable bondage, and sever the tenderest ties. You say to us, if you dare to carry out the principles of our fathers, we'll shoot you down. Others may tamely submit, not I. You may put the chains upon me and fetter me, but I am not a slave, for my masters who put the chains upon me shall stand in as much dread of me as I do them. I ask you in the name of my 3 millions of brethren of the South, who we know that we are unable to cope with you in numbers, and you are numerically stronger, politically stronger than we are. But we ask you if you will read asunder the heart and crush the body of the slave. If so, you must do so at your own expense. Again, I am your brother, white as you are. I am your blood kin. You don't get rid of me so easily. I mean to hold on to you. And in the name of 3 millions of slaves, I offer your gratitude for your faithful advocacy in behalf of the slave.
Next, we have Emma Hughes performing Speech on Education, 1997, by Colin Powell.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You look wonderful out there this morning. They were worried last night that the rain would wash us out, and as early as this morning, there were calls flying around town at 5 a.m. in the morning, should we move it? The answer was, it will not rain. Not on this parade, not today, not with what we've got going on, and it did not, and it will not. Over 200 years ago, a group of volunteers gathered on this sacred spot to found a new nation. In perfect words, they voiced their dreams and aspirations of an imperfect world. They pledged their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor to secure inalienable rights given by God for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pledged that they would provide them to all who would inhabit this new nation. They look down on us today in spirit with pride for all we have done to keep their faith and their ideals and their sacrifices. Yet, despite all we have done, this is still an imperfect world. We still live in an imperfect society. Despite more than 2 centuries of moral and material progress, despite all our efforts to achieve a more perfect union, there are still Americans who are not sharing in the American dream. There are still Americans who are not sharing in the American dream. And there are still Americans who wonder, is the journey there for them? Is the dream there for them? Or whether it is, at best, a dream deferred. The great American poet, Langston Hughes, talked about a dream deferred, and he said, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?" For too many young Americans, that dream deferred does sag like a heavy load that's pushing them down into the ground, and they wonder if they can rise up with that load. And as we see too often in our daily life, it does explode in violence, in youngsters falling dead, shot by other youngsters. It does explode, and it has the potential to explode our society. So today, we gather here today to pledge that the dream must no longer be deferred, and it will never, as long as we can do anything about it, become a dream denied. That is why we are here, my friends. We gather here to pledge that those of us who are more fortunate will not forsake those who are less fortunate. We are a compassionate and caring people. We are a generous people. We will reach down, we will reach back, and we will reach across to help our brothers and sisters who are in need. Above all, we pledge to reach out to the most vulnerable members of the American family, our children. As you've heard, up to 15 million young Americans today are at risk. They are at risk of growing up unskilled, unlearned, or even worse, unloved. They're at risk of growing up physically or psychologically abused. They're at risk of growing up addicted to the pathologies and poisons of the street. They're at risk of bringing up children into the world before they themselves are grown up. They're at risk of never growing up at all. 15 million young lives are at risk, may not make it, unless we care enough to do something about it. In terms of numbers, the task may seem staggering, but if we look at the simple needs that these children have, then the task is manageable. The goal is achievable. We know what they need, and they need an adult, a caring person in their life, a safe place to learn and grow, a healthy start, marketable skills, and an opportunity to serve, so that early in their lives they learn the virtue of service, so that they can reach out then and touch another young American in need. These are basic needs that we commit ourselves today. We promise today. We are making America's promise today to provide to those children in need. This is a grand alliance. It is an alliance between government and corporate America and nonprofit America, between our institutions of faith, but especially between individual Americans. You heard the governors and the mayors, and you'll hear more in a little minute, that says the real answer is for each and every one of us, not just here in Philadelphia, but across this land, for each and every one of us to reach out and touch someone in need. All of us can spare 30 minutes a week or an hour a week. All of us can give an extra $1. All of us can touch someone who doesn't look like us, who doesn't speak like us, who may not dress like us, but by God needs us in their lives. And that's what we all have to do to keep this going. And so there's a spirit of Philadelphia here today. There's a spirit of Philadelphia that we saw yesterday in Germantown. There's a spirit of Philadelphia that will leave Philadelphia tomorrow afternoon and spread across this whole nation. 30 governors will go back and spread it over it. 100 mayors will go back and spread it, and hundreds of others. Leaders around this country who are watching will go back and spread it. Corporate America will spread it. Nonprofits will spread it. And each and every one of us will spread it because it has to be done. We have no choice. We cannot leave these children behind if we are going to meet the dreams of our founding fathers. And so let us all join in this great crusade. Let us make sure that no child in America is left behind. No child in America has their dream deferred or denied. We can do it. We can do it because we are Americans. We are Americans who draw our strength from this place. We are Americans who believe to the depth of our hearts that this is not a land that was put here by a historic accident. It is a land that was put here by divine providence, who told us to be good stewards of the land, but especially to be good stewards of each other. Divine providence gave us this land, blessed it, and told us always to be proud to call it America. And so we go forward. Let's go save our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Concluding our series of South Carroll High School speakers will be Jalissa Mahano, returning to the stage to perform Maya Angelou's Life Doesn't Frighten Me.
Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud, big ghost in a cloud. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Mean old mother goose, lions on the loose. They don't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane. That doesn't frighten me at all. I go boo, make them shoot. I make fun, way they run. I won't cry, see them fly. I just smile, they go wild. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys fight, all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark. No, they don't frighten me at all. That new classroom wear, boys all pull my hair. Kissy little girls with their hair in curls. They don't frighten me at all. Don't show me frogs and snakes, and listen for my scream. If I'm afraid at all, it only happens in my dreams. I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all. At all, at all. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers from South Carroll High School.